Welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. I have Alex here with me today.
Yes.
Alex, you'd think you'd be sick of talking after the weekend you've just had, but no.
I've done a lot of talking. There's been lots of talking, Aaron, but that's okay. I'm capable of rambling forever.
And tell us why. Why have you been talking all weekend long?
Oh, I've been talking because we've just come back. Well, we haven't just come back. It's halfway through the next week, but it feels like we've just come back from the North-South weekend that we hosted in Dunedin, Aaron. And
yes.
Before the North-South weekend, we had an awards dinner.
Yes.
And we also had a very exciting... Well, we had an AGM.
A very exciting AGM, yeah. So it was a big weekend of bowls down in Dunedin.
It was.
Lots going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which one shall we talk about first?
Should we do it chronologically?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so it kicked off on Friday night with an awards dinner. Mm-hmm. And I think just for anyone out there, an awards dinner is an important part of celebrating the bowls community. It's not just a let's do high performance, let's do the top brass or anything like that. We have a club of the year, a club person of the year, a greenkeeper of the year, coach of the year. We acknowledge the playing, the high performance players, and so on. And any of those could go in to win a Supreme Award as well. So I think just because we've had 2 years where we haven't had it, COVID locked us down. We weren't able to travel. We had to do it online. We had to make a number of changes, but it was nice to host a dinner back. And we thank Somerset big time for things like this, because it's important to know that where we do little projects like this, it doesn't eat into what we provide the community, but it is a big acknowledgement to the community. And that's a very important thing to know.
You were one of the brains behind the awards dinner.
I've done my fair share of awards dinners.
So just sort of the people at home or the ones who didn't turn up, how many attendees did we have roughly?
So we had about 135 people this year, and a significant number of those invited guests were the people who were coming onto the AGM the next day. So therefore we like to be a little bit efficient when we do things. Instead of flying people one place for an awards dinner or flying other people for an AGM or anything like that, we usually punch them back to back because they're already here. So and then they can go back to their centres and they can talk about who they've met, because it's a nice thing to be able to meet people at these awards dinners. You can talk, you can make contacts, you can meet new centre managers or other people that you've spoken to on the phone that you haven't seen in person. And also there's the opportunity to meet Bowls New Zealand Life members or Commonwealth Games medal. It's just it's a fun thing. If anyone ever asks you to be a delegate to the AGM and you might get to go to the awards dinner the night before, go for it.
I really enjoyed it.
I think the biggest thing though is the acknowledgement of our community, past and present. So we acknowledge the previous season that we've just had. So that would have been the 2020 and 2021 season. With the players and what clubs have developed over those seasons, what greenkeepers have been outstanding. But what we're also doing is we are growing our Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So this year we inducted into the Hall of Fame Jan Khan, daughter of Millie. We inducted Norman Lash, and we inducted Nick Unkovic. And I think a couple of years ago when I can recall when we first did a Hall of Fame, and I can remember the name because everyone's like, where is Nick? Ladies and gentlemen, he is there.
He's in the Hall of Fame now. Better late than never, I suppose.
I think we I definitely know that I have kind of adopted a list of people that have already been proposed to us many moons ago, and we want to give them also, another reason why you do a dinner, their time to shine and their moment, whether they're here with us still or whether it's a family or a loved one that is accepting on their behalf, just what they achieved for the community as well, and their achievements in their time playing bowls.
I thought that was really special on the awards dinner night because Jan was able to be there with her daughter, which was really cool. So she got to get up and say a speech. But like for Norm Lash, who's been gone for 20 years and made his mark on the game in the 60s, it was really neat that her daughter, his daughter was able to come up, and she said, look, the family thought that he'd be lost to the sort of mists of time.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool that we acknowledge these people.
Yeah.
And he's in that Hall of Fame forever.
Yes.
I think it's pretty neat. And same thing with Nick Hunkovic. Not
Yes.
that anyone would ever forget. But his
The stories.
son and daughter were able to get up and have a chat, and it was, I think, a really special moment.
Yeah,
in that
yeah, and I think that that's probably more the reason why you do it than just to get everyone into one place as well. So it's very, very it's a lot of work. It's always a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's always a lot of work when you do it outside of where your office is as well, because you're like, what have I forgotten? What do I need to take with me?
It seemed to run smoothly enough
So,
here.
yeah, enough.
Sort of did the trick. The other thing I wanted to talk about, just moving away from the awards dinner, is the next day you said we had the AGM, which is the first time it's been held outside of Auckland in a number of years.
Yeah, well, definitely the last 5.
Yeah, for sure. And most of the people who attended the awards dinner went to that. But one really cool thing happened in that Sharon Sims has been nominated and made the patron of Bowls New Zealand. So to explain that to those listening, I think for as long as anyone can remember, our patron has been the Governor-General of New Zealand for symbolic reasons, I think.
Yes.
And organisations are moving away from having the Governor-General as a patron and towards having people who've put back into their community and are legends in their own right to be the patron. So our last Governor-General moved on, or whatever they do to Governor Generals.
Yep, they moved them on.
We got this email and it said, do you want to apply for a patronage of the new Governor General? And the Bowls New Zealand group, I think Mark sort of led it, was like, no, we won't. So congratulations to Sharon Sims. I think that's a wonderful acknowledgement of her and what she's put into the sport, and a great patron to have. And like John Macbeth said, she came into the commentary box during the North-South and she was handing out sandwiches.
Wow.
So
she's going to be doing a lot, because Governor Generals used to host a high tea. Sharon, we're coming to your house for some sandwiches.
Yeah, it's a patron doing a lot of stuff. So on the North-South, Erin,
let's just acknowledge.
Oh, yes,
sorry,
you go.
Let's just acknowledge that though, and this is where we talk about our community going pretty much above and beyond. So Sharon Sims was there in the role of a delegate.
Yep.
To the AGM. She's now been voted in as the Bowls New Zealand patron. She had a role to play as a non-playing captain for the North team, for North versus South, and she's handing out sandwiches to people.
Yeah.
Like, how so many sports out there, or just normal organisations out there in the world, would have a different person doing each of those roles, and definitely not a patron doing those roles. But look at that upstanding person in our community, and just how great that's, why we have these people where we have them.
I think it's great, and there's lots of Sharons.
There are lots of Sharons
in our community.
Yep.
I think it's you're right. It's really cool to see, and all we can do is thank them, I suppose.
We probably can't thank them enough.
Please hang around. So the North-South, which I think it went well, because I got to sit down and talk for
2 days on bowls.
About bowls, which is like
You're
cool.
fizzing.
Thank you very much.
You're in your environment.
Yeah. Do you want to cover what happened in the North-South a bit, Erin?
Didn't really manage to capture a lot of the North versus South.
Yes.
However, it was new format for us, in that we had 8 people in a team. 8 players in a team.
Yes.
4 men, 4 women. We had one, and it didn't matter who or whether they were the male or the female, but one had to be over 65, one had to be under 26.
Yes.
One was a part of the para community.
That's right.
So then they got pitched in a not a draw as such, but the North would make their call and the South would say, I'm going to play this person, and the South would say, I'm going to have this team as my triple, and the North would say, I'm going to play these people against it. So back-to-back bowls all weekend long, wasn't it? We started one game half an hour after we start the next game.
Yeah.
It was just constantly rolling bowls
all the way through.
Yeah. Thank you to the Hopes Dunedin Lawn Bowl Stadium, because they put on an absolute hospitality clinic for us, where they had kitchen running and bar running and people watching, and it was great. And their big blue was looking fantastic.
It was good, and I enjoyed
great.
The media walls and stuff, and you created, Erin. And for those who haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go. Just have a note. The coverage went for 2 days, so it's 2 separate videos that go for about 8 hours each. It's on our Bowls New Zealand YouTube channel. It's on our Bowls New Zealand website. It's on our Bowls New Zealand Facebook page. Yeah. Just Google Bowls North-South and it'll pop up
somewhere.
But if you have a look, there's 2 cool things, I thought, 2 innovations. The first one was the giant scoreboard that was at the back of the rinks.
Yes.
Which I thought was...
We need to be able to see the numbers.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yep.
And I'd like to see more of. I mentioned it a few times in the commentary.
We're starting to see if we can't put some LED panels into those media walls in the back.
Just be stepping up and up and up. And the other thing I thought was really cool is what we ended up calling it the house Erin, which was the sticker that went on the rink.
Where does the word "the house" come from, Alex?
It's because it's inspired by curling, Erin.
Yes.
So I thought I'll be original and steal the house term. So there was a house at each end of the rink, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep.
And the players seem to not mind it. We'll find out soon because we're actually going to talk to Jonty Horwell. But the players seem to not mind it. I think it added an aspect to how it looked on the broadcast thing to have those circles there.
I think, like for me, I've now watched a number of matches of bowls in my time here, and I do find it a lot easier to register who's holding, especially when we don't have a paddler up there every single delivery.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it be singles or pairs, but who's holding shot and how many, because those colours are there, and to me it just gives me a bit more of a gauge. It also shows when you are watching on a screen. It shows movement of the game, because if you see a jack has moved out of the centre of it, obviously that jack's been moved there by something. And when you watch a delivery and then you come back to watching the head and all you're seeing is bowls around a jack and there's nothing to register position, an original position, there might be like a little X or something like that. You don't really know what's going on, so you could see a number of bowls clustered together and the jack off to the side, and you could take a first glance at that and be like, well, that was terrible. However, what you haven't seen is that originally the jack started over with those bowls and it's been trailed by someone, and that target actually tells a little bit more of a story.
Absolutely.
And nothing like bowlers out there who know their sport will know exactly how to read the head and what's been going on. But I think what's more important is with the mixture of people that we have playing our sport now. So the North versus South is a perfect example. If Jonty has a number of friends who wanted to see him, they haven't played bowls before. They're going to be able to watch something that's very easy to start reading and get them involved in the game, and then they're going to understand it faster and then hopefully draw them in sooner.
I'm convinced
that's the way to do it.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So before we move on to saying who we've got coming up next, and just quickly, I will say who we've got coming up next because it's Jonty Horwell, and then we'll talk to Dale Rayner's brother, Grant Rayner, for our last guest, and that'll be that for this week's Bowls Hour. But I suppose we should mention who won the North versus South.
Nah, we don't want to give Kearney his time in the sun. Well done, the South.
It pained me. But he convinced it. Well, it was a good one. It was great that it came down to that last game.
It did. No pressure on Mike Galloway, that's for sure.
Yeah.
With his last delivery.
So it came down to that, and he just missed it.
Missed it.
The South going into the last two games was 6 points up.
Yep.
And every game was worth 4 points each.
Yep, in the last two. So the North could have won both games and won by 2 points.
Yeah, it was very exciting because the North won that first game of four. We knew they were going to win that first game of fours because they were 6 points up last end, and there were 2 or 3 South bowls that weren't going to be counting.
Yep.
Everyone's like, whoa. This means that we need to be watching this other game of fours, which has gone to an extra end.
Yes.
And if you want to watch that extra end, as we said before, YouTube is the place to go have a look. It's worth watching. There's some incredible bowls.
There is definitely. And on that point, as Alex mentioned, we're going to be talking to Jonty Horwell next, probably about North versus South, and maybe some other bits and pieces here on the Bowls Hour. Hello, Jonty.
Joey, how you going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, living the dream.
That's good. Normally people say good things, and we have to sit there and say, imagine if they said we're not good.
We've already taken a turn.
However, today we are living the dream.
Brilliant. Okay, well, viewers will know you, Jonty, now as you're mildly famous, having been in the North versus South. I'm sure we had thousands of people watching the North South. But I thought for
no
the
pressure,
ones
first time up, eh?
for the ones that
it's a bit nerve-wracking.
we'll get to that. But for the ones that didn't catch the coverage, I thought we'd just start at the beginning with you. And can you just tell us what's your first recollection of coming across bowls?
So back in the day, my uncle
Hold on a
played
second.
bowls.
Back in the day, you were selected for North versus South as an under 26-year-old player, and you start with back in the day.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
I would have been about 8 or 9. So I used to go park up with me packet of chips and the can of Coke at the bowling club, watch my uncles playing. But it didn't take long before I was sick of that and wanted to get out there myself. So, it's back in the day, it's about 15 years ago now, bowls, but that's what got me into it. Just, wanting to get out there and enjoy it. Yeah. Well, it's a good start. It's better than beers at that age.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's incredible how many people we've spoken to that started off with a packet of chips and a Coke. I can remember it. I fell off a seat with a packet of chips and a Coke, Erin, and that wasn't good.
No.
That was I was about 8 or 9, fell off a seat and broke my glasses.
Wow.
But that's not about me, it's about Jonty. So we'll move on. So you took up the game sort of like 10 or 11ish. Did it take long to get good? Were you always competitive?
I've always been really competitive, which I think obviously helps when you're playing bowls. Obviously, it can take a wee bit of time to get the hang of it. It's not like a lot of other sports, but I think just that competitive nature definitely helps you in that bowls scene as well. But I probably was no good for the first few years, but as you get towards your 13 or so and you're starting to get some scalps, and doesn't take too long once you get into it, figure it out.
Are there any early successes that you can remember sort of at the start of your career that stick out to you as something that you thought that's a cool thing to have ticked off the list?
I was playing singles in the under 8s at like maybe 15, which I was pretty stoked about. But and obviously back then you had the secondary schools and Kitty Hawks and stuff like that, which was great for getting some big scalps, and managed to get one of the under 18 ones as a kid, which was awesome.
Have you done the under 26 Burnside competition?
I have. I've never had much success there.
Well, everyone's starting to age up now, so.
Yeah. We're getting towards the top end of the boundary. It definitely is a bit strange when you rock in and there's, all the young ones there, and you feel quite old. But it's a weird feeling at bowls. I've never really struck that anywhere else. But
yeah.
Oh, it's only going to happen more.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not wrong.
Sweet. So we've talked a bit about your successes. What about your bowls club? What club did you start off at, and what club are you at now?
So I've always been at Kaikoura. They're a bloody good club, and throughout the years we've had heaps of successes. Even since I've been there, but there's heaps of people there that have played for New Zealand back in the day or come through the club, even if it's for a few years. But I've always been quite lucky to be around a lot of top bowlers at Kaikoura. And, I don't live terribly close to it now, but it's still, I wouldn't change.
Still
I
your
won't
club.
be changing.
Fair enough. So what sort of setup do you guys have there in regards to greens?
We just got the one green. The up there is one of the better ones in Dunners, which is awesome. So it's always great to play on it. But, just the one green we've got guys here that are just super dedicated to keeping it in a awesome condition. So, there's nowhere else I'd want to be rolling up.
I suppose
the choice.
Yeah, fair enough. Talking about greens, we spoke to Shane Elliott last week. I think it was last week from Southland, and I asked him a question about greens, because in Auckland we have some interesting greens, a wide variety, I would say, and a mixture of starweed and Manitou and that sort of stuff. What's the green situation down your way in Bowls Dunedin?
Oh, I feel like I'm going to stuff this up, but I think it's Cotula, with a little bit of starweed in it at Kite. I feel like Dunk would probably kill me for getting that wrong. But
someone will tell us, don't you worry. There'll be a comment somewhere if it's wrong.
What's important is that you said it's lovely.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's cool. So we spoke about... we'll go idols first. Yeah, that's a good thing. You've been playing bowls for 15 years now, which is quite impressive considering that you're in your early 20s. Are there any idols or people that you look up to on your way through the sport that you try and model your game off, or you think there are some important things that you can sort of steal that they do?
I think, like, obviously for my first few years playing, I was, just watching my uncles because, they were real successful and donors at the time, and, they were playing heaps of bowls, so it's definitely a great place to start with. And then we've got the McConnells at Kike who used to play for New Zealand, and every time I go down on my school holidays or for a roll-up after work, Dunk could be there doing the green and spend an hour with you. So that was bloody awesome, especially from such experienced players as well. That would be mainly it. I was lucky to have Kearney was at Kike for a couple of years as well, which was pretty cool. So my brother and myself played triples with him, which was he was playing for New Zealand at the time of that. That's pretty much it. Yeah, in terms of idols.
Yeah, fair enough. That works. Sometimes we ask people and they go, nah. so that's good. So
it's a bit of a tough question though. Like, it's not like you have a picture of them up on your wall at home.
Nah.
But
you sure?
But,
we'll print you off a Kearney poster. What I like is that your people who have influenced you and helped develop you into the player that you are now have been local. Like, you haven't gone, oh my God, this person's won like 10 world champs and they're England based and I want, or anything like that. Like, you've got a real good community spirit with who has helped foster your love for the game and who has been like significant impact on your playing of the game, which is really lovely.
Well, it's the kind of people that put the time into you as well, which, you got to appreciate that throughout, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's probably a bit mean with the idol thing because I wouldn't have a good answer to that if someone asked me that question. Yeah.
Maybe you should change it to who has significantly influenced you.
Yeah, we'll see. You might have made we'll see.
You're changing the podcast here, Jonty.
That's okay. So we've spoken a bit already about the North-South that took place over the weekend, and to my disdain, the North Island team didn't win, but we've congratulated you guys. I took it well. It's okay. Do you just want to talk us through a bit about how that was for you, Jonty?
It was pretty awesome. It was a great tournament. Obviously, it was a bit tough first hit out of the season, really, going up against all these awesome bowlers. So I think, it was a bit tough. I was beating myself up a wee bit, but didn't get the results that I wanted individually. But as soon as I sat down on the couch, I got home. I had my first beer, and I was like, "That was awesome."
Great.
Like the whole weekend, yeah. And I've had heaps of messages and stuff from people saying how good it was to see the streaming, and that side of it is definitely something different. There's a bit of waiting for the players, but in terms of the overall, everyone seemed to be real happy with it, which is awesome to see.
Brian,
with a new kind of concept and stuff like that as well.
We haven't even paid you to say that. That's good. So we spoke...
I expect it.
Oh, no.
That Kearney post is on the way. We'll get it signed for you.
Right, okay. So you're part of the South team that beat the North Island, and it was a different format, wasn't it? It was based after that
Ryder Cup.
The Ryder Cup. I think I just about said the tennis one, which would be wrong.
Golf.
I just about it doesn't
Stick
matter.
to your sport.
Yeah, I know bowls. It's fine. So for you as a player, how different did that feel compared? Because the normal rep tournament, you get selected in a discipline, and then you've got a weekend of bowls against whoever it is. What was it like to be knowing that the non-playing captains were going to take turnabout at picking who played who?
Yeah, so I won't say it was a little bit confusing at the start, but once you got your head around it, it was it was a lot easier to kind of see it in action now. Like if you would ever do it again, you'd be like, oh yeah, sweet, that's awesome. But I think it was great being able to play all the 4 disciplines as well. Like singles has never been one recent years my strong point, so it was a bit rough first up. But then you get to go and play. The Hong Kong pairs was awesome. Played with Pam and that, and it was great. You can play everything. But the 4s and the triples were just like super intense. Obviously, every bowl counts, and that was real good. But yeah, obviously the sets was something different. You probably don't play that unless you play PBA at all throughout the year. But you just got to adapt, and that's everyone else is doing the exact same thing. So at the end of the day, it's really just the same playing bowls, but you just got to adapt, really.
Yeah, I think you're right about the triples and 4s. Like I was lucky I got a really good view of all the games because I just sat in my seat and rambled away for 2 days. But the triples and 4s, the standard by that second day, that was pretty impressive, wasn't it? Like the number of effective bowls that were played. Because often you play, you see one good bowl played and you go, yeah, that would be the end of that end. But you guys no one was missing.
Yeah, you couldn't blink. You'd miss something. It was,
Just going to drop something into here as well. Impressive and close bowls and how accurate they were getting. And there were some very epic shots here. Now, obviously, there were very, very few players out there that were playing with their own sets of bowls in that respect. They all had to play with either a black set, if they had their own black set, or if they had their own white set, they could bring that. But the majority of you all were given a set to play with straight up. That you didn't really practice with much either, and look at the level of bowls that was being played. Like, was that a bit of a mind challenge for you, Jonty?
I was quite lucky to actually have the same set of bowls, just in a different colour.
You're welcome.
I know there can be... Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I know there can be a very, very slight difference between the colours, but it's never gonna affect you that much. But it was quite awesome when you're kind of playing on the heads. You know exactly where you were, how many shots you had. So that side of it was great. Like all playing with the same colour. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really think there was too much of a difference. I know some people have different makes and models that weren't part of the spec, but they all adapted obviously pretty quickly.
At any point, did you bend down to pick up one bowl that wasn't yours?
Well, yeah.
Because we weren't helpful with the pictures on them either, by the way.
Yeah, they're all identical. So we had, in the first day, Belle, Kearney and myself were all had Optimus. Yep. The only difference was grip and size. Kearney had a 4 and Belle had a different grip. So every end we were kind of, skulking around trying to figure it out. But,
pay attention to
so when we were playing pairs, Pam was like, I'm going to have trouble with this. So I ended up going into the kitchen and got a chalk pen from one of the guys on there, and I've got a wee green stripe on the bowl. Sorry, I don't know if I cleaned that off.
Too bad.
But yeah, so that helped a little bit there, and obviously the 4s was a mess.
There are very few. So in these sets, there are very few that actually doubled up. Like there was a couple of size 4 Henselites that doubled up, and a couple of size 4 Optimas that doubled up. But every other set was either a different size with a different grip. So if you knew what grip you played with, you knew what you were looking for on the ground.
It did just make it easier for us watching though. I quite enjoy that. I get so frustrated in outdoor bowls because indoors nice and simple because you don't even provide your bowls, they're just there. It's black and yellow. But I get frustrated in outdoor watching 4s sometimes if I'm not paying a lot of attention.
Oh, especially teriyaki.
It doesn't matter if I'm watching the whole thing because I understand what's happening, but if I just want to glance, I'm like, well, there's now 16 bowls on a head, and there's 8 different colours.
Again,
what's going on?
The idea behind it, I guess, is what we're trying to do is we're testing these things. Like, how easy is it for Jonty, if your mates were watching you, they knew exactly what team you were playing for if they'd never watched bowls before in their life, That's kind of who we're targeting, and they can see and they can watch a little bit longer because they're watching their mate, but also they can pick it up quicker.
But we're not going to scare people yet and tell them
You're
about...
only playing with these.
Imagine that at a national singles final. No, you can't use your bowls. We're going to change the colour. That's all good. So thanks for talking to us about the North-South. Just quickly before we move on to the bonus question, future plans or goals, Jonty? What's next in your sights in the bowls world?
So coming up, we've got the Burnside under 26s, which is in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks from now. And I think if provided I can get the time off the week after, or a couple of weeks after that, we've got the Northern Sally 10,000 in Dunedin as well. So some big tournaments to start off the year, which would be bloody good. But yeah, it's just a bit of a balancing act sometimes with work at the minute, but we've got some big projects coming up, unfortunately. So, but yeah, definitely after the weekend, I was keen to be playing a lot more bowls. It's just kind of lifted you up a wee bit.
Yeah, you've got
being at that kind of level.
Got your nationals team sorted. Are you coming up to Auckland for national singles and pairs?
I haven't got any plans currently to go to nationals, so I might.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
Nope, that's all right. You pick the ones that you can go into. And for anyone else listening, Alex, let's throw this in for like the millionth time. When do national entries open?
Soon.
Isn't it September the 18th?
Yes, I think that sounds right.
Yeah,
but soon. Yep. So what's that? Yeah, and not too distant future.
Now. And yeah. After, so future plans, we've got a couple of local competitions, but now for the important question, Alex.
So to be totally transparent, our original question and the one Jonty knows of is what's your go-to bowls lunch? But we don't want to know that the answer to that yet, Jonty, because before we began the podcast, I discovered a packet of chips. And we've had
I know.
Delicious. It was good. It actually delayed the start of the podcast for a bit. So the question we have for you, what's your favourite flavoured potato chip?
And not just flavour either. Like you can get into whether it needs to be like a kettle fry or
you can
a
be
corrugated.
As specific as you
go,
would like.
You go for gold, Jonty. Go.
Yeah, so I've actually got a Wakachangi tattoo. You get a wee label on the box and like an ID card, and you scribble on it, draw a wee face on it.
Yeah.
So and then Lee Hart's gone and released the old Snackachangi chips,
yes, he has.
Which are bloody awesome. Those salt and vinegar ones.
Yeah.
Absolute treat.
So
that's the go-to.
We have actually got the bag of chips that we were talking about earlier are the Snackachangi salted.
Okay.
Yes, they're good. But I've never been a fan of salt and vinegar, but
each to their own.
Each to their own, exactly. But they're a good crisp. The bag describes it as what? Because we've got them right in front of us. Chunky, crunchy, crispy, and it ticks all the boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Versatile.
Are they corrugated? They call them corrugated. Are they crinkle cut, the salt and vinegar ones as well, or are they different?
Yeah, it's something like a oversized corduroy. Corrugate, isn't it?
Yep. Same chip, different flavour.
Cool. Good chat.
Good chat.
Wrap it up here, and so I can get to the chips.
On that, we will let Alex is wanting those chips. So thank you for the time today, Jordy. So we're going to repeat that one. So, and on that, Alex is wanting to eat the chips. So we're going to wrap that up. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, Jonty. It's been brilliant. And all the best once again for your upcoming events. And as we say hesitantly, congratulations on the South win.
Awesome. Thanks, team.
No worries.
Thank you.
And coming up next, we're going to be talking to Grant Rayner here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. Now we are speaking with Grant. Welcome to the show, Grant.
Yeah, g'day.
That's a good
I was about to just go, how you going?
That was not a good start.
No,
I'm glad to be here. Great.
Yeah,
Great,
good. I was about to go, how you going? And then going, this is not a New Zealand podcast if we start like this.
Push through.
We're going to keep this in. It's great.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay,
Right.
fantastic. Great start.
Thank you for joining us today, Grant.
No problems.
I just need to get under control. Okay, so I'll take it from here. For our community, because this is a Bowls podcast, Dale Rayner, your sister, is probably more well known. But I thought for you we'd start right back at the beginning. Bowls, what was the first time you came across it?
When he went and watched his sister play. Sorry.
No, you're almost right. It was watching my dad play.
Oh, yeah.
would be the first time I can remember anything about the game. But my motives were probably not to, because I was interested in the game. It was probably because I could have a hot dog and hot chips at lunchtime. Was probably the motive. I think it would have been a Hutt Valley tournament, Walter Nash Stadium, late 70s, I would think. And yeah, I just sit there in the stand and watch.
Fair enough. Did you think then that's a game I might want to play, or did that not cross your mind at that point?
Didn't really cross my mind. I think I would have been 7 or 8 years old, maybe. Probably didn't really cross my mind that it would be a game that I could play. It definitely not at that time, anyway. Yeah.
So when was it that you made that sort of leap into playing bowls then, Grant?
So I was 11, and my sister had already started. Dale had already started, and we were living in Havelock North by then. And she was getting to go out, stay out late at night, playing this mysterious game that I'd only ever seen. And I wanted to have a late night out as well. So I think it was I sort of had to ask to go along, and I eventually got to go along on a regular basis. And that's really how I started, really. That would have been about 1984.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was about 11.
That makes sense. So that's we're talking indoor bowls at the moment, and we will for a little bit to go, and then I'll ask you how you got started outdoors. So you started indoor at 11, and you're still going strong. Can you give us some highlights from your indoor career that stick out to you?
Well, the highlights, I guess, that stick out would have to be definitely being selected to play for New Zealand in 2009, and I was asked to be the captain of that team. So it was a little bit unusual to be the captain on debuting, but it didn't turn out too good. We lost to Australia that year, unfortunately, but that's one of the highlights. Definitely being asked to play for your country, I think, is right up there. Other highlights would be winning a gold star for 5 national titles and winning a Welsh trophy for centre, for your centre top 8 players. Yeah,
absolutely. So outdoor bowlers will know Dale Rayner, and they might not be aware that she's also played for New Zealand in indoor as well as outdoor. So
yes.
Your family obviously is a very successful bowling family. What's it like for you to sit there and go, well, my sister's played for New Zealand indoor as well. Your parents are very successful. Your other sister played for the North Island team. Is there any feeling that comes with that, with you guys in bowls?
Oh, we're pretty competitive, I think. So if one of them's going to do it, the other one wants to do it, I think. Very proud, I guess, to see, especially when Dale was, made that New Zealand team to go to the Commonwealth Games. I think that's every bowler's dream, I think, is to represent their country on that stage for a chance of a medal. And so you're pretty proud, you watch the opening ceremony and watch the march in, hoping to catch a glimpse. So I think, deep down, I think that would be the ultimate goal. I think she's achieved the ultimate goal for someone in your family, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very proud moment.
There's normally quite a lot of competition around board games at Christmas time, and I guess indoor bowls is quite easy to roll out a mat and have a bit of a play. Has there ever been any off the cuff indoor bowl challenges in your household that have turned terrible?
It's always, I think it's other people that sort of bring in you're playing your sister or you're playing your dad in the tournament, and it's like, I just got to make sure I'm the one that wins. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like not much is said after the game, you sort of keep your distance and go,
as long as one of us wins.
Give everyone some space, eh? We're a pretty fiery lot. But we've had some outdoor challenges at Christmas time. We've gone down to the Johnsonville Club on the occasion and had some of the nephews and my parent, obviously the parents' grandchildren, nephews and sisters and that. And we've had a bit of a roll-up.
Yeah.
That's cool. So just quickly before we move to outdoor bowls, the New Zealand Indoor Bowls team was called the New Zealand Indoor Bowls team from 1983 to whenever we decided to change it, I think 2015. And then they got given the name, the Matte Blacks, and with that there was an amazing logo that was created. And my understanding is that you were a lot to do with the logo. Could you talk? Can you talk us through that?
Yes, so we had a team practice, and it was quite late in the piece. It was 2013. We were about to go to Australia to play Australia, and we had Dwayne Cale, chief the mission for the New Zealand Paralympic team, 2008 and 2012. He came and talked to us and telling us to, what to expect the unexpected, and a lot of things to just make us prepared for Australia, because the last time we went there in 2009 we lost, so we were really wanting to go back and make a massive challenge on the trophy and make amends for that, bit of redemption really. And one of the things he said which sort of stuck with me was that make where you're staying, like the accommodation, like their Olympic accommodation, they just made it whatever New Zealand stuff they could find, they would bring it, and whether it's kiwis or flags or whatever, and just decorate your whole motel. So that was sort of our team. The team rallied with that, went with that idea, and I'm just sitting there at work thinking, man, we need a logo. So that's sort of how it came about. And I sort of looked at the All Blacks logo and went, okay, we've got an All Blacks logo, and we've got other logos for other teams, and it's like, well, why don't we have one? So I just started doodling really, so came up with a logo which has 11 bowling mats on it, which represent the 11 disciplines that we play at international level. There's a koru on each one of those mats, which is a bowl. There's a New Zealand Federation symbol. I sort of pulled that apart and turned that into a bowl and a jack, and put it all together and came up with the logo. Ran it past the rugby union, because I think they've got some sort of rights to the fern, to anything that's called, All Blacks, Matte Blacks. It's all sort of very sort of similar, and they didn't have a problem. They didn't have a problem with it as long as we didn't make any money from it, which was an interesting response. And ran it past some iwi people from the iwis, and they were happy, given that the fern is used throughout the country. I just wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on anyone's toes, and we got the sign off for that, and that's really how it all came about, and it's been adopted and kept.
Did you run it past Central Otago to make sure?
Don't you get me started on Central Otago, Erin.
Sorry, that was the best response ever.
I need to explain. I'll explain this for Grant and for the people listening. So, the New Zealand Indoor Bowls, we have a cool logo, right? Grant knows this. It looks like there's a kiwi and there's a fern. And we went to Central Otago for the Nationals, and I looked at the logo and I thought, that looks mighty similar to something that I have seen, and it's literally the Indoor Bowls logo with leaves.
All right. Yeah, nice.
It's okay. It's fine.
And so the running joke for the rest of it was, no, Alex, we think that New Zealand Indoor Bowls has copied the Central Otago logo.
No.
And he swore to God that was not the case. But we actually had him convinced, and he was doubting himself.
I wasn't very
Doubtful
happy,
Thomas. There he was, questioning whether he actually had it right or not. Meanwhile, we'd had a side conversation with some people from the area and went, no, we saw the logo, thought it was great. We wanted something similar.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It's fair enough.
I can't believe you brought that up, Erin. That's okay.
I'm sorry. I had to, just to explain it, sometimes it's a shame we don't have cameras in here, because I'm sitting here giggling because I can't wait to bring this up, and the reaction that I just got out of Alex was priceless. That was good.
Okay, we'll move on.
I thought it was unusually quiet at your end when I was explaining that. Right.
We'll move on. Cool. So that's good. That's good information. It is a cool logo. I'll put it up somewhere because it's worth looking at, and I like that the Matte Blacks are called the Matte Blacks, and it's
we now have the story behind it, which is a fabulous story too.
It's a nice tangible connection there. But
coming up with the name was a bit like, what do we call ourselves? There was a few emails flying around. What order we put the words in, and we have the word black in it, and and yeah, it was an interesting.
Yeah.
That's sort of how it came about. It's just, I think all the players just put their heads together, and that's what we come up with.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good legacy, legacy thing.
It gives you guys an identity as well when you play.
Outdoor bowls.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to see it on the shirts. Like it took a few. I think 2017 was the first time we wore it on the back of our shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite a neat thing.
Yeah, and it'll hang around for sure because we saw them this year as well. So Dale plays the outdoor sort of full-time's not the word I'm looking for, but she's a competitive outdoor bowler, and you have been in the past. Can you just talk us through your outdoor career, where it started, what it was like, and then what level you play at now, please?
Yeah, right. So I started outdoor in 1993 in Hamilton City Club, which is now no longer a club, I understand. And I was lucky enough to play with some legends of that area, like Robert Freeland, Malcolm Kidd, and a few others. And they took me under their wing, and I had quite early success at the junior level, basically because I played outdoor. I think gave me a bit of I sort of felt like a fraud, really. I sort of came in there and it's like, oh, okay, but they think getting within a foot's pretty good, but I like to get within a few millimeters of this thing. So that was sort of my mentality of it, and I think it held me in good speed. I was a good reader of the head. So I sort of had an advantage a little bit just from the outdoor and from the indoor. So I went straight into a junior team and played junior reps for them. And then in about my fourth or fifth year, I was put into the senior men's sevens team for Waikato, and played a few seasons there. Played lead in the pairs, I think it was. Got to play against Rowan Brassey and a few of those great bowlers,
Those names,
it was pretty scary down the other end. I didn't realise how powerful their drives were, but the balls were flying down when you're the guy at the other end trying to catch them. Yeah, just let them fly. They were fast. But yeah, great experience, and that's sort of where it. I won lots of club titles, and I was just sort of really starting to make my mark, I guess, on the open stuff. Got a few runner-ups in Waikato Open pairs, and skipping and things. But then, I got married and kids were coming, and so the decision had to be made. And I just sort of made the North Island Indoor Bowls team, and that you play that at winter, and you play outdoor at summer. So I thought I would like to have summers off. So that's really where I stopped, and that would have been 2001. So I played for about eight seasons.
Sorry, excuse me. Fair enough, but I understand you've had quite a successful time. Do you play a twilight or a social league?
So Johnsonville has a business house league in February, March each year, and my sister Dale always has a team in there, and obviously she asked me if I'd like to play, and she'd be the only bowler in the team, so she'd lead, and I skipped it, and the first year we got a second, and then we had a three-peat of wins, which was sort of embarrassing because by the time you're winning the third one, we're sort of at the table when they're announcing the winners because it came right down to a point in the end. And I'm just going, oh man, I hope please let us be second. We don't want to be third. They will never let us back. But we won by a point. And it was like, oh, okay. So sort of a reluctant third because we wanted someone else to have a crack at it. But that was good. I think that's just how competitive I am. I just no matter what the event is, it's like, yeah, I want to win that, whether it's a game of Tiddlywinks or a game of Monopoly. It's win or lose. It's win, It's win. Yeah. There's no second spot.
I understand that.
We're not for the participation trophies here. We get it.
I understand.
Yeah, so that's my social stuff. And we were doing it right in the fourth year, in the fifth year, but that got shut down due to COVID, I think. So we didn't finish that season.
That little
didn't finish that one.
Yeah, little pandemic. But how do you find the social bowls, Rayner? Because Bowls New Zealand talk a lot about, we're not just a sport that is for our competitive players. We also have a large community of people who turn up and play the social or twilight bowls. Did you find it to be an enjoyable, is it a good community and a good experience there?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's probably harder. There's bowls everywhere. It's a mess. There are literally bowls all over the place, and every we'll have someone filling in our team, and they've probably never touched a bowl before, So,
but they're having a great time.
It's quite good. It's great when they get one on the jack.
Yeah.
Everyone manages to get one on the jack, no matter how much experience they've ever had. So when they do that, I think that sort of gives them a little oh, okay, I can do this. And then they get the bug, I think, a little bit. Yeah. And I remember playing just before before I was married in 98, my mates, my bridal party, we went down to the bowls club to have a roll up, and they were one of the guys was a front row prop, and the other guy was into his cricket, but they just wouldn't stop. Once they go, oh no, we're gonna go in for a beer. No, we want to stay out here. We want to try and get close to this jack. It was quite an interesting experience.
What do they do?
I'm going, what are you doing?
Do you know if they're playing bowls now?
No, they're not. But I think they obviously had their other sports to continue on with, and they've got family commitments and things as well, and other business commitments now. But who knows what could the future could hold? But exactly. They've obviously had a taste of it, and they obviously enjoyed it. So an hour on a weeknight,
they might come back on that. Yeah, get them into the social.
That's the thing for me. I like social bowls. I think it's got a big place. That's what we indoor emulates it with club nights, because we have that regularly. Outdoor, I think it's great having the social thing. Okay, Rayner, we've been talking for a while, so we're going to go to the bonus question now. And,
yes.
Like we said to Jonty on the previous episode, we originally started off, full disclosure, we were going to ask people about lunches, but before we started the podcast, I found a bag of chips in the office.
You know how much thought I put into what lunch would be my go-to lunch?
Do you want to?
Tell us your go-to lunch.
No, I never came up with an answer. So I'm glad you changed it.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll throw this one at you, Rayner. What's your your favourite type of potato chip, and you can get as
detailed
as you would like for your favourite potato chip?
Not just flavour.
My favourite potato chip is plain.
Ready salted?
Plain ready salted.
So
you can't go past it.
Are you a chunky crinkle cut, or are you like a kettle fry?
Or I go crinkle cut.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. And probably not chunky. Just your standard.
Yep.
Your normal
standard
potato.
ready salted.
Yep.
Potato chip.
The kind.
Yep.
Sorry.
You can use it for anything. It doesn't taste. I don't know why people would like chicken, because I've never tasted a chicken that tasted like a chicken chip.
Chicken's my favourite.
Oh well. I don't know. Does it taste like chicken, or does it?
No, it doesn't. But it tastes good, especially when they're really fresh.
It's like drinking banana milk. It's not quite banana.
But that's my favourite too. But on top of that, the other week we spoke about what's your favourite sandwich, and I said I'd put pretty much anything into a sandwich. I've put cold lasagna. I've put chocolate biscuits. I actually wrapped a Ferrero Rocher in a piece of bread the other day in the office, and it freaked Alex out.
Didn't go down well.
I enjoy a chip, a crisp, fresh bread, butter. Crisp sandwich, and in my mind they can only be made with ready salted.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's good.
Yeah, ready salted. Put some Marmite on it as well.
Some what?
Marmite.
A Marmite sandwich with chips.
It's probably going to tell us it's a
What
mouse
is this
trap.
terrible thing? It needs to be called Vegemite. There's no Marmite in my pantry.
Okay, well you could try it with Vegemite then, if that's your go-to. Go for it.
Thank you.
There'll be no looking back.
Let's end this here, because I feel that we're going to just recap all of our food-based questions with Grant if we keep going.
Okay.
It's been fabulous to talk to you. So much. I think we'll have you back.
Okay.
All the best with your social bowl season, and hopefully you can get some of your friends back playing, because I reckon now's about time that they'll get back out there and get competitive again. So thank you once again for your time, Grant.
Thanks, Rayner.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye. Geez, Alex, we don't need to actually answer ours, do we?
No, I think we've answered the question. I think we've answered the questions. Yeah.
My favourite is chicken, even though that flavour doesn't exist in life. I do like it to be a crinkle cut.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can get those slightly thicker crinkle cuts, not the Wakachangi corduroy crinkle cut to get that detailed.
Yeah.
Every now and then a barbecue chip's all right.
I prefer, the ready salted's good.
Yeah.
I don't care what sort of, it's just ready salted's nice and simple.
Yeah. I see what people say about chips in the bowling club now. Everyone was like, oh, I'll go down to the bowling club and I'll get a bag of chips. There's always chips around. We have chips next to us in the bowling club next to where we're based in the office.
Fantastic.
But it's not fantastic because guess what I had for lunch every single day the other week? Bag of chips.
Okay, maybe not fantastic, but that's okay.
Yeah, but it was good. And on that topic of chips and chip sandwiches and everything else, chips and more chips, or someone's actually going to call up and say, they're not chips, those are hot chips, they're called crisps. So I'm apologising now to anyone, but you're more than welcome to hit me up about calling them chips instead of crisps. And with that, we're going to wind up today's episode of the Bowls Hour, the show for all things bowls and food now. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, remember to share it around. We can be found on Facebook every week from 7 p.m, as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, the Bowls New Zealand website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next week for more talk about everything bowls. Until then, roll on.